Hello, and thank you for joining us on the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, dollar scarcity worsen forces Naira down. Governor Diri of Bayelsa State files 12 grounds of appeal to reverse sack by the tribunal. Boko Haram Terrorists attack Magumeri in Borno State, raze hospital, houses, telecoms mast, and other infrastructure. And later on the show, Journalist Hangout Midweek Special is on the easing of restriction imposed in April as Nigeria fashion out response to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Utitoju, while Olayinka Oyegule will be joining us via Skype. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. Our currency, the Naira, has been on the slide, no thanks to the ailing economy and over-reliance on the petrodollar. The value of the Naira has gone further down following scarcity of dollars in the system. The country's currency was 48 Naira to a dollar at the parallel market in Lagos on Tuesday. But at the investors' window, the Naira traded at 385 Naira 98 kobo to a dollar and was sold at 381 to a dollar at the Central Bank of Nigeria window. Now, the Naira, like the economy, needs rescuing. Babajide, we've been here before. At the point in time in the life of this administration, during the recession, 2016, there was a time this dollar went as much as 520. Can you remember that time? That's over 500 Naira. And the same administration worked so hard.
The VP had to intervene.
Worked so hard. And for a long time, because some of us that we have transactions sometimes that we have to do with dollar, we noticed that this dollar was kept at 360, 365, for a long time, for 2-3 years. But just in the midst of this COVID, this thing, it is now, the black market rate is scary. It's scary.
Yes, the truth is, the CBN has always defended the dollar. Defended the Naira by pumping so much dollars into the market. But the question to ask is, for how long can the CBN continue to do that? The
So
truth
that is what is responsible for the semi-stability.
Yes.
Defending.
Yes.
Okay.
When your foreign reserve is significant enough, you can defend your currency strongly. But if those buffers are not there, it becomes difficult to defend the currency. The truth is, when your output is going down, it will have an impact on the strength of your currency. And that's what we are facing at this time. The truth is, it has reached a point that the CBN must look at our foreign reserve is sliding as well. Yet you must keep it at a point that it must be able to sustain 3 months import bill. You can't use all of what you have to defend your currency. You can't do that. So you have to be mindful of the fact that you must keep your foreign reserves at a level that it can take care of 3 months import bill. And I'm sure that the CBN is looking at that seriously. Foreign direct investment also helps, in solving this kind of problem. But a lot of the people, the portfolio investors, are staying away because there are alternatives. They can go to a country like Ghana, for example. I talked about Ghana the other day, and some fellow made an issue out of what I said. Ghana is creating incentives for investors to come into their country. Ghana says, okay, look, don't pay duty on raw materials that you need for manufacturing And who will see that kind of opportunity and not grab it? Is our own tax environment not hostile? You look at what other countries, how about our seaports? Is our seaports not hostile? Shouldn't we do something about exporting stuff outside of petrol, of oil? Because we rely so much on this oil. Another thing is the diaspora remittances. It also helps us, just like our foreign reserve, to shore up, to defend our currency. But those remittances are not coming the way they used to come. One of the reasons, and then one of the reasons is that a lot of those guys are like speculators. They are waiting. They can see that the Naira is sliding. Some of them would rather wait until it gets to something like 600 before they send in money. So they are just watching. They are not in a hurry to send in those remittances as it used to be. And then, of course, we are not making money from oil the way we used to make money. So there's no way that it will not affect us. You are not earning enough. Your output is not high. So it will affect you. I look at our country and I compare us to even some of the African countries like us. Look at a country like Ethiopia. Ethiopia is making so much money from exporting flowers, roses. It means that, look, the plan is in place. They don't waste time. From the aeropolis that they've created, they get the flowers across to Manchester and all of these places where they are needed right the same day. No form of delay.
Even they are strong on aviation too.
Yeah, Kenya too. Kenya too. Yes, Kenya too is exporting flowers. We have an export promotion council. Nigerians need to ask the question: what are they doing? What are they exporting? Even if it is yam that they are exporting, they should let us know. They should let us know the threshold. What are you? How much of exportation have you done? Because if we continue to rely on a petrodollar, one day we'll be in serious trouble.
Olayinka, are you not concerned about this spike in the dollar to Naira rates?
Any Nigerian that says he's not concerned is not serious. Because the truth of the matter is, the more the Naira slides, the more things get more expensive at home. For instance, we have been talking about, as Kolade has said, what are we really exporting? We have a problem with continuity. There was a time cassava was the rave. They say, oh, we can export cassava, they can get starch, they can get this, they can get that. A lot of people went to cassava farming. What has happened to it now? We are no longer hearing anything about it. We talked about wheat, exportation of wheat, and getting our own wheat so that we can stop importation of wheat to make bread and all that. We went into it. What has happened to it? Has the number of wheat or the quantity of wheat that we import, has it reduced? Or is it the same thing that it was some 4 or 5 years ago? We don't know. And Naira will continue to slide because even our politicians, they are not proud of the Naira. You go to people now, people prefer to give you dollar instead of Naira because they have access to it. Because it is easy. $2,000, you can put that in your pocket, but you cannot put the equivalent of that in Naira into your pocket. So, because people also prefer to spend dollar will continue to rise. We need to let ourselves know what exactly is our priority. What do we need? What do we prefer? Do we prefer to defend our Naira as the central bank has been doing? The central bank cannot continue to defend the Naira because you only defend what you have. if the central bank continues to defend the Naira, at some point, the dollar they have in their reserve will get exhausted. So it is important and very, very good for us to know exactly what are we earning and what is it that we import that we don't need. There are so many things that we import that we don't need. You go to the shops, you had that importation of ordinary thing as toothpick has been banned. But you go to stores, you see toothpick made in South Africa, made in India, made in all those things. What exactly are we doing? Why do we need to spend our Naira to buy all these things? The central bank, as I said, cannot continue to defend the Naira. So we need, even as individuals, to tailor our appetite to what we can get here. As long as we don't do that, Naira will continue to fall. And especially, I appeal to our politicians. Honestly, they are the people that are spoiling the Naira the more. They talk of Naira, but most of them don't spend this Naira. They don't. They carry about in their pocket dollar.
Thank you, Yinka. Jide, some transactions, especially some areas I know in Lagos that, I don't know, maybe it have changed now, but in the past, some apartments in Lagos, when you want to pay for it, you pay for it in dollars. If you go to BI, Banana Island, all the service apartments, most of the transactions are carried out in dollars.
They will even tell you beforehand. It's part of the laxity in the system. Because you can't do that. You can't go to South Africa now and expect to transact business in the dollar. Nobody's going to allow you to do that. If you have the dollar, you go and change it to their currency. They will not take that.
Right.
And you cannot change your money to the dollar anywhere, just anywhere. You have to go to a bureau de change. They will take your passport, look at your passport before transacting that business with you. That's the way it is in South Africa. You must use their currency. And you can see that their currency has always been consistent against the dollar, 6.9 to the dollar. And what is their product? Yes, they rely on gold and diamond. You know, I've never seen a country where the currency is like on a kind of seesaw like our own. I don't know any other country like that. If anyone knows, they should please tell me. That you see clearly that there is a kind of instability in the currency at the scale that our own is going through. I've never seen that kind of country. So this is the thing. Everyone tries to protect his currency, except our country. Why should people transact business? It should be something that sends people to jail, that you will not use the currency. When I had, the first time I traveled to South Africa, I discovered that it was only in the duty-free shops that I could use the dollar. Only in the duty-free shop in the airport, and we were already heading out.
Yes.
I saw things that I wanted to buy before we got to the duty-free shop. They refused to sell to me. I pleaded with them. I pulled the guy aside and said, see, I want to buy this CD, music CD. He refused flatly to sell to me.
It will be a privilege if we want to transact in Lagos. And
the person also will be so excited to receive the dollar from you. We think it's a status symbol. We are unserious as a people.
All right. As it is in sports, so it is in politics. Never say never. After the nullification of his election by the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja on Monday, Governor Diri is not letting go. He has filed 12 grounds of appeal at the appeal courts for the reversal of the tribunal judgment on the November 6, 2019 governorship election. In the appeal filed by his lawyer on Tuesday, Governor Diri wants the courts to set aside the majority judgment of the tribunal. Jide, it came as a shock that one of the insignificant, so-called insignificant political party went to the court and could nullify the mandate of the incumbent governor, that's Diri. Now, it's time to appeal. He has ample time to do that, and he has a time frame to do that. But say he must convince.
He has done it quickly.
Yes, he must convince the Court of Appeal beyond reasonable doubt that the ground at which his election was upturned, those grounds
Were not sufficient.
were not sufficient enough.
Yes, that's it. I think also that the governor knows that at this stage we cannot take chances. No one knows whether the INEC will appeal or not. INEC, from the vibes emanating from our friend Okoye, INEC does not think that that judgment was right. INEC insists that he did the right thing, that even that suit was statute bad. But that is not a guarantee that INEC will appeal. So the governor has decided to move quickly just in case INEC does not appeal. Because if INEC does not appeal, then the judgment stands and there will be a fresh election as demanded, as the tribunal had ordered. Now, what the governor has done is to simply try to ensure that whatever happens, the case does not go unchallenged. You know, and what the governor is asking for is for the tribunal to adopt the minority judgment. You know, it thinks that the minority judgment of Justice Ibrahim Sirajo has great value. Talked about why that judgment cannot stand, you know. And the governor is saying, look, this matter ought to have been a pre-election matter. You know that in section 138, subsection 1D of the Electoral Act, it is stated clearly the kind of matters that can get to an election tribunal. So their own argument is that this kind of matter, once it has to do with disqualification by INEC, then it has to be
A pre-election.
pre-election matter. When you go before a tribunal, you are complaining about the conduct of the election proper. You are complaining about the fact that, oh, you were not announced as the winner. Therefore, you are demanding that the tribunal should either cancel the election or pronounce you the winner of the election. That is a tribunal matter. The tribunal handles matters involving the conduct of an election. You know? So this is the main plank upon which Governor Diri is building his appeal. And the truth is, he is scared of facing the APC in an election. Let's tell ourselves the truth. He does not know what could happen.
So unpredictable.
Yes, the judiciary, nobody knows how the judiciary will resolve the matter. But he is moving ahead because he knows that if he faces the APC again, he might be defeated a second time. But
If you look at the results,
yes, of course, the conditions that can make him lose a
Yes.
second time are still very much present. You know, so he sees that as a clear and present danger. He does not want to go into a fresh election where you are not sure that the APC will be on the ballot. Yes, there had been cases decided by the appeal court, by the Supreme Court, that show clearly that when a court gives an order for a fresh election, only those who had been screened and qualified to take part in that immediate past election can participate. Many people have been telling me, oh, fresh election is different from rerun. They need to go and read the judgment of the Supreme Court as handed down in the matter of Labour Party, Adamawa State Chapter versus INEC. 2007, Justice Dairu Mustafa.
Former CJN.
Yes, Justice Dairu Mustafa and others. In fact, what the Supreme Court did was the Supreme Court praised, and of course, Mutade was also one of the greatest judges of his generation, was also part of that Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court did in that matter was to adopt the judgment of the appeal court that I talked about yesterday. Because many people had been asking me, Jide, what will happen? Can the APC take part in this election? If the Supreme Court will rely on its own precedents, the APC will not take part in the election.
Olayinka, this is getting interesting. And you see that the politician will do everything to just make sure the status quo is maintained.
You know, Bayelsa is turning out to be the greatest conundrum in the Nigerian political situation. You remember that the man that Diri took the plate from was at the Riaza ground. He was to be sworn in the next day. He was at the Riaza ground when the judgment came that it is Diri and not him.
Unfortunate.
So for now, I don't honestly. I'm in a quandary. What do we say? Because for this, as has been observed, I don't think the APC has a dog in this fight. If what the Supreme Court judgment had been before is anything to go by, because the contest now should be between or among the parties that took part in the last election. And if you look at it critically, from the judgment that took away the crown from Leon, Leon did not take part in the contest legally, validly, according to the judgment that seized the crown of the governorship from him. So when this election is going to be conducted again, I'm not sure where the judiciary can interpret it the better or the way they think. I don't think APC will be on the ballot. Therefore, what Diri has done, as Babajide has said, is to make sure that before it is late, he appeals the judgment. Because if he doesn't appeal, and INEC, which is primarily a concern in this.
Oh, I think we lost connection with Olayinka there. And
It's still that matter that is talking about.
yes,
The
so
matter of whether the
even as we round off on this,
yes, I think it's still that matter that is talking about. The matter of whether APC can take part in that election. Justice Dairu Mustafa, Justice Ikechi Francis Ogbuagu, Justice Pius Olaiwola Aderemi, Justice Muhammad Muntaka Kumasi, Justice Dairu Mustafa, Justice George Adesola. Yes, these were the
7 in number.
Yes, these were the judges that decided. It's just almost. It's just a similar case to this one, not a rerun, a fresh election ordered, but only those who were part of the last election were allowed to take part. That was the judgment of the appeal court, telling the Labour Party at that time, 2007, that you cannot change your candidate. Only those who took part that time, because the process leading up to changing of candidate had ended. So they said you cannot change your candidate, but if you like, you can get involved in the election, but you can't change your candidate. So, and Supreme Court went ahead, adopted the judgment, yes, of the appeal court.
Still to come, Boko Haram terrorists attack Magumeri in Borno State, raze hospital, houses, telecom mast, and other infrastructure. We'll be right back after this time out. Don't go away. It's a multi-award winning program, Journalist Hangout, reaching you from the stable of Television Continental here in Lagos. Jide, you wanted to finalize on this?
Yes, the weekly law report that I was citing came up in 2009.
2009, but
Yes.
the judgment was
No,
2007.
the matter
Okay,
began 2007.
7,
But the
yes.
weekly law report,
Okay, yes, that they use as a reference point.
yes.
Okay.
And people have been saying that, oh, they have 45 days, but that's not the case. There are 45 days to change, not in this context. I've done extensive research. I've spoken to judges. I've spoken to lawyers before I came up with my submission. But time is a gentleman, as I always say.
We'll wait for the Supreme Court.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
wait.
Let's see,
We'll wait.
because people argued back then when we said that Akpabio would not be substituted.
And there's always a time. There's now a time frame for these things now. It's not like before that it runs. So there must be a time frame for the Court of Appeal to talk, for the to be started.
Yes,
bound
we
for the
will see.
Supreme
We
Court.
will see everything.
All right. There was fire on the mountain in Magumeri, Borno State on Tuesday, forcing residents to run for cover. Boko Haram terrorists attacked the community, which is about 40 kilometers from Maiduguri, the state capital, raising structures on their path to ashes. The insurgents burnt down houses, a hospital, and the only functioning telecommunication mast in the town before they were repelled by the military. Okay, we're talking about going after critical infrastructure, and this is the level of damage.
Yes, the hospital. The hospital had just been refurbished by Governor Zulum, and he provided new equipment, for the people.
How balanced are these guys mentally?
These are just mad people that we are dealing with. This is not the first time.
Hospital.
They wait for you to reconstruct. I feel for this governor because I know critical infrastructure that he had restored in some communities. These people will go there and destroy everything. The tractors that he bought for this community, they also destroyed. Bought for farmers. Look, this is an hospital. An hospital. They deliberate. Sometimes they go,
Brought down to rubble.
you are trying to restore civil order, and you created this, you created that. Okay, let us see what will happen. They go and then they destroy. So that is the thing. That's the danger.
Deliberately.
Now, every time they do this, people take to their heels.
Go back to the IDPs.
Go back to IDPs.
Because you can't stay in this town. This town is not safe.
No, you now know. Before now, they attacked communities around this, Magumeri, which is one of the largest local governments in Borno State. Magumeri is larger than, that local government is larger than the largest state in the southeast. Yes. So,
A single local government.
yes. And it's not the largest local government in Borno State, because I believe that Kukawa is even larger. Now, they attack communities around it. That should have sent a signal to the armed forces that they will come for people in that town. That should have sent a clear signal. And then they killed people in those communities. Now they came here and destroyed the infrastructure. And the Air Force was trying to take charge of the operation. But it's not everywhere that you can drop bombs on.
No.
But they still managed to carry out this destruction. And then critically, I said something a few weeks back when the army had the altercation with the governor. I said we have to be careful about relocating people to their communities. We have to be careful. Boko Haram, after the governor met with the army, they relocated people to Kukawa. And Boko Haram went there this week and attacked the army at that Kukawa. People had not lived in that place for almost 2 years. They had taken to their heels. They just brought them back, only for Boko Haram to go back there to attack the army, loot weapons, And now the people have fled the place again. It's the same thing that happened in Guzamala local government. Today, Guzamala local government, there is not a single soul living in Guzamala local government. Soldiers are not there, civilians are not there, because the people returned too early. And the Boko Haram went there, destroyed the guest house that government has built, destroyed schools and hospitals, and then the people took to their heels to convince them now. That's the local government of the Speaker of Borno State House of Assembly. To convince those people to return now is difficult, because they think that if they try it, these guys will come and kill them. That is the extent of insecurity in Borno State. 40 kilometers to the state capital. This operation lasted about 2 hours according to the people. And then you have this destruction. How can you as a governor, how do you feel? You spend money, you've renovated structures, you put structures in place, and then these people can come.
It's quite discouraging.
Then, yes, extremely discouraging.
It's quite discouraging. It's quite discouraging. Olayinka,
Honestly,
the way they operate, they don't seem to be reasonable people.
No. The Borno State governor is a man I pity, if that is the right word, because there's nothing he can do.
Helpless.
And these people we are dealing with, it is, if you call them animals, it might be an understatement. Because no sane person, a facility that has been renovated is what you go and destroy. I mean, anytime we talk about Borno State and the security situation in the country, to me, we sound like a broken record or a record stop in his group. What is it that we are doing? What is it that the security agencies are doing? The president is a retired military man. All the cream of the security are the elite of our security agents. So what exactly are they doing? Is there no intelligence gathering? Is there no reconnaissance or whatever they call it? I mean, there must be a way to do this. There must be method in doing this. I'm totally lost for words to describe what is going on. Now, in the midst of crying that the country, the economy is bad and all that, a governor struggled to rebuild a community. These people went back and destroyed everything again. Then are you going to start again? This is like you roll a thing up, it rolls down, you go back again like the Achilles. You roll up, it rolls down, you start all over again. Spending the money that should have been spared for other infrastructure all again in everything. And then we are talking of rehabilitation of these people. What kind of rehabilitation are we doing? Are we sure these people, the so-called who have been rehabilitated, are not the one feeding these people back with some information? It is not, there's nothing wrong in rehabilitating repentant Boko Haram insurgents, but we must think of a better way to do it. We have to, are psychologists involved, are psychiatrists involved, and all those. You know, it's like we have diminished the essence of education completely. We are not using people that should be used to work with these people, because you need a psychologist, you need a philosopher, you need all those psychiatrists and all of them to work together with every one of these people. I mean, even the soldiers that are fighting, will they not be discouraged? Because when you liberate a place and it is restored, in some few months down the road, they destroy it again. Then you go back again and do the same thing. There must be something. I think there are things that the security people know that they are not telling us.
The situation is will I say hopeless or helpless, as when you describe the sheer size of that place. Now, you're saying that this particular local government is bigger than the biggest states in the southeast. That means to man it, you need people to be there.
That is the problem that we have with...
To need people to be there.
That
if
is the
this
problem we
hospital was
have.
built and people were stationed there.
No, there are people in the community. You know, there are people in the community. And there are
soldiers manning the community effectively.
Of course,
it's like almost impossible.
Of course, they are going to engage the soldiers. Boko Haram is never afraid to take on soldiers because usually...
But we don't have enough.
The truth is, experts envisage that to win an asymmetric war, you must outnumber the opponent by a ratio of 6-1.
This kind of asymmetric war?
Yes.
6-1.
6-1. Because there are many ungoverned areas. And because people have not lived in those areas, they can stay there and do what they like.
As you are fighting, as you are conquering, you take hold of
the problem with us is that we chase them out of an area, but we cannot afford to keep troops there permanently.
That is what I'm trying to...
I'm telling you that our troops have recaptured some places up to 3 different times.
Oh man. People like places like Baga.
They've recaptured the place like up to 3 different times.
They've attacked.
They will go there again.
Bama,
you go there. Even this Magumeri has been attacked so many times. Remember, this was where they attacked those oil workers.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
who were going for prospecting in the Lake Chad area. This was where they were attacked. You know, so it's been attacked repeatedly. So what I'm saying is, we do not have enough troops. Look, even if Nigeria has 3 million troops, if our army is larger than that of Algeria, they cannot protect the whole of Borno State. In the real sense, physically protect the whole of Borno State. Because you look at Sambisa alone. Sambisa stretches through 7 states.
3 million infantry soldiers placed on ground.
We don't even have 200,000.
No, as in, if we have that kind of
strength, I'm saying that if you put them on ground, they can't physically protect every community. You understand? They can't physically protect every community. I don't want to talk about our troop strength that I know. Not on a public space like this. But the truth that I'm saying is, you look at a place like Sambisa, for example, it stretches across 7 Nigerian states. 7 Nigerian states, going as far as even Jigawa. No, now how many troops can you put in such an area? And that's why they are elusive. Nobody has succeeded in totally chasing them out of Sambisa. You are bombing them here today, they find somewhere, because it's large.
In other parts of the north, you have to forests too.
Sambisa is 6.5% of the entire Nigerian land space. So how many troops do you want to put there that will secure the whole of that area?
Okay, on a final note, today's episode on Journalist Hangout Midweek is on easing of the restriction imposed in April as Nigeria fashion out response to the COVID-19 pandemic. TVC News' Abiola Sholanke has the story.
Four months ago, the sight of roads filled with vehicles and traders displaying their wares by the side of the roads was unthinkable. That was because government thought it best to throw everything it could at the novel coronavirus. Everyone except those on essential duties had to stay at home. Flight restrictions were imposed. Schools and worship centers, among others, were shut. In Lagos, the epicenter of the pandemic in Nigeria, the number of confirmed cases have continued to rise, but so also are measures put in place to tackle the situation head-on.
And I want to inform you that we will not be proceeding with the opening of the places of worship as been said earlier. For the 19th and 21st, we will be suspending it until further notice. We've critically had to have a thorough review of where we are as a state and our condition. Our review indicates that we needed to suspend that attempt of opening.
But as the battle against COVID-19 intensified, government grew increasingly confident that the containment measures could be relaxed. Many states badly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria are now at different stages of relaxing restrictions imposed to check the spread of the virus. Secondary school students in exit classes have resumed and are already sitting for their West Africa Senior School certificate examinations, while places of worship have opened their doors to worshippers for the first time in 4 months. In Lagos and Ogun states. The same is true of bars and restaurants, which have now been allowed to open for business as long as they are ready to fulfill some obligations. For instance, the federal government opened the airspace for domestic flights on the 8th of July. Schools were also permitted to reopen for students in exit classes to write their West Africa Senior School certificate examinations. Lagos State followed suit by announcing relaxation of some restrictions.
We will be increasing the permissible capacity for public gathering from 20 that we had in the past month to 50%. Places of worship in Lagos will now be open from Friday, the 7th of August for our Muslim worshippers, and on Sunday, the 9th of August for our Christian worshippers. But we would only be allowing 50% of their capacity, a maximum of 50% of their capacity.
Following this, churches and mosques reopened for worship. Some religious leaders lament that the pandemic has led to the adoption of modern technology in olden church services.
What we detest before has been the new normal now, especially the technological aspect of ministry, which many of us are not fully utilizing, but has become new normal, and we cannot avoid using technology, even in the spiritual things.
The government gives a directive, we are always quick to respond to it. So naturally, we got all our churches locked down. But then we maintained line of communication with our members through the various platforms on the social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and then we have our own station.
That those within the age brackets not allowed to be in church can join virtually.
Those who are under 12 and those who are above 65 who are advised to stay at home because they are considered to be most vulnerable to COVID-19. So for those group of people, what we did was to encourage them to continue to maintain the social media platforms.
Draw out the message, the lineup, zone by zone or family by family. So that avenue is still there. Those who are elderly and couldn't come, and by extension, some who are nursing children, they couldn't come because of their children. So we are using that platform.
In Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, students in SS3 and GSS3 have fully resumed for academic work, while those in SS3 class have commenced their final year examinations. Those in GSS3 commenced lessons this week. In all the private schools visited by TVC News crew, it was observed that school management made provisions for students to follow the COVID-19 safety protocols. This includes temperature check, washing of hands with water and soap, and applications of hand sanitizer as well as physical distancing.
We lay emphasis on social distance, which is very important. The virus, when it comes out from your mouth, it can only travel for like 1 meter. But when you maintain 2 meters apart, the virus has no option but to drop on the floor.
We've done so many things. We've done the seminar. For those people that partook, we give them if you go into my office now, you will see the poster. Even for the private schools that participated, they were given certificate of participation.
The students are happy to be back in school. They also want government to make concrete plan for full reopening of schools.
To enter the school gate, we have to wash our hands, sanitize our hands, and we make sure we maintain social distance. We have not to hug each other or shake each other because of the fast spread of COVID-19.
We are all fully prepared for the exam. We will practice our social and we maintain our physical distance between each other. We engage each other in the class. We practice series for the exam, so we are all fully prepared.
For now, it is hoped that the gains made in some sectors of the economy that have restarted in the state are sustained, while also ensuring that safety guidelines are strictly adhered to. Abiola Sholanke, TVC News, Lagos.
Jude, churches had to latch on that, the technology, the platforms, so that for pastors to keep in touch with their flocks and everything. So it's not the new normal. Everybody, you're online, just get the data on your phone and catch up with your service. And meetings, night vigils, everything, can conduct it via Zoom right now. So
you can imagine how much money these telcos have made during this period.
yeah, the data is now selling. Data is now at an all-time high.
Even the children are telling you, no, my data is finished, but we want to do lessons. You keep buying. But when you buy data for them for lessons, a good chunk of that data is used to play all kinds of games. You are not at home all the time. Before you know it, they'll come back again to say the data that you bought the other day is finished. You know? Wow. So it's tough for parents at this time. So much money going into buying data for Zoom meetings and all that sort of.
And feeding.
Yes.
One day in the body house.
They consume bread a lot. Because they don't sleep at night. In the night, that's when they play all these games, you know, the group games. You know, it's going to be difficult for us to forget what has happened during this period.
Yeah. And the year 2020.
Yes, it's been a terrible year. We've lost friends, we've lost acquaintances. It's been a terrible year. Anyone who is alive up till now should be extremely grateful to God that they're still alive. We know that we will survive this year.
Iga, this has altered our lifestyle substantially.
Completely. Mm-hmm. And I know that scientists in the next few months or years, we have to deal with the issue of obesity, especially among children. Because now they are at home, they eat, they drink a lot of juice and all that, sit down and play with their phones and all that. So a lot of things will happen. We have to keep our eyes on that. And for me, this has opened a new vista for life, because there are things before that we have always thought we cannot do. But because of this, a lot of meetings, conferences, international conferences and conferences, national conferences that will have been held are now held on Zoom. So as Jide has said, it is the data companies that are smiling to the banks. And I think they should also show some gratefulness by giving people some extra incentives. Because in their own case, every sector complains, but it is the telcos that can never have reason to complain.
They can't complain at this time.
Because they have made a lot of money. They've made a lot of money. People who hold meetings, people who are not
the kind of money that the banks
exactly.
The kind of money that the banks are not making, they are making.
They are making people that are not technically efficient with using data before have been using
Thank you, Iga.
You see an
our time is fast spent. Thank you, Olayinka Ibule. Thank you for your contribution. BQ, We just hope that this just 2020 will just pass away.
Yes, and we encourage the government to continue the easing. There are people who are complaining now.
About their sector.
Students want to go back to work.
School?
Bars, nightclubs, even event centers. You can imagine all of those big event centers. No patronage at this time.
Yes, and
people's jobs have been on the line.
Yes.
So this period, people have really suffered, and they can't wait to get back their lives again.
And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platform showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzubakum, urging you to stay safe and God bless Nigeria.